Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and call to order the February 12th meeting of Public Affairs Committee. And we'll start with item number 1, receipt of the reports from January for property maintenance, parks and rec, and public information. Do any of those staff folks have anything that they in particular want to highlight about those reports?
Commissioner, if I may say one thing.
Sure, go ahead, Mr. Salvatore.
I just want to highlight, and we'll have more details moving forward, that we are working hand in hand with the Cheltenham Education Foundation on a 5K event on April 26th. True collaboration between public and private to support the township and support that education foundation. So more details to follow, but we did have preliminary meetings, Lauren, Walter, and I, and things are looking really good for April 26th. So happy to answer any other questions about the report, but that's a major highlight for me.
Thank you. We'll put it on our calendars and hear more about it later. Yeah, I wanted to also just comment that I noticed both, well, it was actually, I think in Mr. Brown's report, the pickleball is taking place at Glenside Memorial Hall, and all sorts of activities are going on in Glenside Memorial Hall. And I think it's exciting to see that building being used. I think the residents are thrilled. I've heard a lot of positive feedback, so I just want to mention that.
Yeah, if I can comment on that.
Sure.
Yeah, so again, knowing that Lamont and Roland are shut down during the winter months because of the HVAC situation, and having a serious lack of indoor space with the school district facilities being stretched, we kind of jumped into action and saw that it was, in my eyes, and sorry for folks on this call who are part of the, the process of the last few years, a stranded asset that could be used because the HVAC, both air and heat work here. And kind of my point in talking to Alan and the township manager where, if eventually this is going to be, repurposed or knocked down or whatever, what's the worst can happen if we play pickleball in here? So I might as well generate a little bit of revenue and give township residents what they want, as well as the special events we're running. So we're just using everything, that we can really to program. And as Allison has said numerous times, if you give me a blade of grass, I'll program it. So, if there's space, we'll use it for sure.
Well, that's good. I mean, we don't want to be wasting our resources, and this is a good use. So thank you. And thank you all for the setup. And these are not easy to configure. So I know that there's a lot of physical arrangement that needs to be done. So thank you all for that as well. Any other comments, questions from commissioners? Anybody? Okay, I'll take a motion for receipt of these 3 reports.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. There were no committee meetings that gave us minutes for January. So we'll skip on to 3, the receipt of the staff meeting minutes. Are there any comments? I'll move receipt of the staff meeting minutes for January. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Old business for public affairs. I'll ask, what is the status of I think at one point we were going to get a pollinator-friendly yard ordinance, changes to the ordinance on the yards that would be friendly to a more diverse garden mix that's, more sustainable. Where is that, and when will we see that?
I'm not sure if I see Lauren still on here. I know that the EAC and staff are working on an ordinance. It's still in process. Oh, there she is. Hi, Lauren. But it is in process. That's as far as I can say at this point.
Yes, I've been working with Scott, Al, and a few EAC members who really have a niche for that topic, and looping our solicitor in for the language.
Well, so yeah, I'm particularly bringing it up now because this is the time that people start thinking about flowers in their gardens, and spring is really going to come. So want to make sure that that's in time, basically, for this year's spring season. What do you think? Going to get it by then?
That is the hope, and I will note that for item C under new business,
Right.
that initiative of changing that ordinance will support the pollinator pledge, the Monarch pledge.
Right, and that's why I thought it was worth bringing up tonight. Okay, thank you very much. Any other old business? Okay, 5A. Consider recommending the Board of Commissioners award a one-year contract to Service Master Building Services with a not to exceed monthly cost of $2,370 to provide janitorial services for township facilities, subject to favorable evaluation of the bid documents submitted. Township Manager, please.
Sure. So we had a contract last year with a cleaning company, and they were no longer able to fill the cleaning contract. So we went out to bid, and this is the resulting lowest bidder for cleaning services for our facilities. Alan and Sam were gracious in putting this together, and Megan as well. And they have been reviewing the bid documents and making sure that this contractor is well qualified to do the work, and I believe they are. The nice thing is that this bid price is actually slightly less expensive than what we were paying. So we support moving forward with awarding a contract to this bidder.
Thank you. Any questions from anyone on this board? And I assume Mr. Brown was probably in on some of that process.
Yeah, 100%, Commissioner.
Great, and you're supportive of this.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, I'll take a motion to recommend.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Consider item B, consider recommending the Board of Commissioners authorize staff to issue a request for proposals for a beer garden program. So I'll ask Mr. Salvatore to give a little intro to that, even though the materials are in the packet.
Yeah, so there's a memo in there. Hopefully you all got a chance to read it, kind of outlining what the plan would be, an 8-event pilot, kind of touring the township. We work closely with the vendor on securing it, of course, with the chief on police presence and monitoring it. I think as we're looking for different ways to activate our public spaces as well as generate revenue, kind of feels like a slam dunk to me, knowing that folks want to get together and that we have some precedence in the township around what High School Park does at their festival, as well as here in Glenside at the 5K. So, I think it's worth a try. There's been a lot of success with it elsewhere, whether it's in the city or, as I mentioned, in Harrisburg or Memphis, where I visited and helped them with their beer gardens. I think we give it a shot. We have some good breweries actually in the township that we can, maybe lean on a little bit to support the program. And again, I'd like to give it a shot and see what we come up with. And happy to field any questions about my history or what I know about them.
Well, first of all, thank you for the initiative, because it's really exciting to have new opportunities. Let me get the questions, and I see Commissioner Arman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Salvatore, I think it's a great idea. I think it's a great way to bring our community together and sort of highlight our township, and it sounds like it would be fun too, which is nice. But my only question is in terms of potential liability. Do we need to talk with our insurance carrier? Have we talked with our insurance carrier, or is the service provider take on the responsibility for any liability that could potentially come up under these circumstances? And the hope is that people act responsibly, but we know that sometimes stuff happens. So can you just speak to that if you wouldn't mind?
Yeah, so we can get the solicitor in to help with this conversation perhaps, but my sense is that the vendor will take on the responsibility when it comes to the alcohol, right? And we would take on the responsibility when it comes to the grounds, right? So the vendor is not going to be responsible if a tree falls on somebody, but
Right.
would be responsible for serving those folks. Again, we can bake that all into the agreement so that we're fully covered. The reality is, right, when it comes to lawsuits, Commissioner, anyone and everyone will get put on a lawsuit. So I don't know if, if we're 100% protected from like someone trying to sue if something bad happened, but at the end of the day, I think we can do our due diligence to mitigate as much as possible.
Yeah, so long as there's some sort of and I don't know about this, right? Maybe in your experience, you know that when you have a vendor like this, that there's some sort of indemnification or limitation of liability, and certainly that should be a priority when looking at a contract of this type and a contractor.
Yeah, it will 100%. Again, I don't know the ins and outs of the county as well as I would the city versus and the
Sure.
township. So I think, when we get to that point, if we get to that point, then that's where the solicitor comes in and we lock down the contract.
Great. Thank you very much. That's all I have,
Yep.
Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Chirko.
Hey, thank you, Bill, and forgive my camera is off because I have the flu and I look like heck. So, but I do want to, thank you for bringing this. I did attend a Parks on Tap in Philadelphia a couple times, and I do think that with the large numbers of Philadelphians that are moving to our township, I do think that this will be well received by them. I mean, they have a history. Many of these folks already have a history of this type of activity. I think it is, it's a great idea. I'm really excited. But if you could, for those who haven't been here, attended one, could you give us the lay of the land as far as what actually happens in this beer garden, right? I mean, it's more than beer, right? So
Yeah.
I want you to kind of maybe lay out for us, what does it look like? And then the other part of this, it's a Thursday to a Sunday or a Friday to a Sunday type thing, right? So it's not just a one-day event, if I'm correct, is what you're thinking, right?
Well, for our pilot, I'll answer your second part first, Commissioner. So for our pilot, it would just be single day events, just to get it off the ground.
Okay.
I don't know if we have the capacity right now within the department or the township, for that matter, to manage multiple days. So I think, in the memo, I put 8 instances between May and October. I think that lends to 1 a month, with the opportunity for some rain dates, or if we have great weather, just have 8 total, which I think would be phenomenal as a first try at it. As far as the layout, everybody hears beer garden and they think alcohol first, but it really is a family-friendly event, and in some instances, a pet-friendly event. If you were to go to one that was in the city or in Lancaster, Harrisburg, or Memphis, where I've been, you'll see that it's a completely fenced-off area with someone checking IDs at the gate. Often there's a registration system where you give your email address as you walk in so that you're tracked. Anyone who's 21 gets banded with a wristband so that they're identified as 21, so you can't be passing drinks off to anyone. There's often food involved. And then there's games, right? There's like Jenga and table games and bag toss and things like that. so that folks can be, entertained while they, have fun with their friends, right? And not everyone that comes to a beer garden is going to have alcohol. So there's non-alcoholic preferences as well, soda and, non-alcoholic, cocktails, that sort of thing, mocktails, I think they call them. So, I can absolutely send some pictures, and those of you who have been there, feel free if I'm missing anything, but there really is kind of a true gathering of folks when these things happen. And I was kind of joking around with, I think, Alan Brown today saying, we're getting ready to celebrate the 250th birthday of the country, and we have these squares in the city that were around for the last 250 years. And if for a minute we think in those public spaces that our forefathers weren't enjoying a drink, we're probably kidding ourselves.
No, I think you're probably right. No, I think one of the things I think that I am really interested in is the ability to bring people together. And I think that having opportunities like this where neighbors can talk to neighbors and they can build community, I think is a great idea. So I'll stop talking, and I know others want to talk. So thanks so much, Bill. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Commissioner Brockington.
Yes. Hey, Bill, thanks a lot for this.
Yep.
Have you considered tying this in with concerts in the park?
We have, yes.
Okay. That was my only question. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, one of the things that's really interesting, and we didn't get to this yet on public affairs, and we will probably in the next month or so, but I am convening a number of the Parks Friends groups to talk through, resource sharing and idea sharing. And one of the things I want to do is see if they want to rotate the concerts, and maybe as part of that rotation, decide that they want to host a beer garden as well, because it could really be like a true community event.
Mm-hmm.
So I love it.
All right. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Did I see your hand, Commissioner Sigmundfeld?
You did, and Commissioner Brockington, for a change, asked my question.
Oh, okay.
Because in the concert events, particularly at High School Park, it's a tremendous opportunity. There were a lot of people there, and there were kids and dogs and family gatherings, and clearly that's one of those situations, I think, in rotating the concert series or increasing the number of those, that would be a great opportunity. So Bill, great ideas, and clearly expanding the role of Parks and Rec in a great way.
Yeah, thank you.
I do have a couple of questions. I don't see any more from my colleagues. I got a lot of positive feedback, excitement about the concept. I also got some questions. A lot of them are coming from Cheltenham communities that care.
Yeah.
And one of the specific questions was, will we require in the RFP that those serving the alcohol are RAMP certified? That's a responsible alcohol management program that the state puts on. So I wonder if you could just answer that.
Yeah. So I don't know if it was truly in the memo or not, but I did have a meeting with Wendy from Cheltenham that cares to talk through a lot of this stuff. And we did talk about that certification, and we can absolutely bake that into the RFP. Also, we did talk about the, the concept of possible tabling or educational opportunities for Cheltenham that cares as well.
Yeah, because I think part of the issue is, and not to sound like they're a prohibitionist type group, but alcohol and youth, there's kind of a normalcy, and one, I think there is some concern that sponsoring family events that make it routine that we have to serve liquor is a challenge for some families and some people who are concerned about those things. So, I don't want this to go by without at least mentioning that and asking how you envision when Commissioner Chirko asked about what it looks like. So what does it look like if you bring your kids, say, ranging in age from 5 to 15? You know, where are they during this?
Yes, so I think that lends to the idea of having activities on site, right? So they could be playing bag toss, they may not be in the beer garden, right? If it's, again, just riffing here, but if it's over here at Renninger, maybe they're on the basketball court while their parents are in the beer garden. I think there's a number of different ways it can go that kids could be entertained. If it was part of a concert, maybe we're just enjoying the concert. I think that, some of it, I know at the end of the day, it's our event, but, parents have to be parents as well, right? And, know that they're bringing their kids to this event. And, I think Commissioner Cherico will stand by me in that we've been to a number of these things, and, the kids are there seamlessly, right? And the alcohol isn't any sort of the issue. And truthfully, in my experience, the alcohol has not been the focus. It just hasn't been.
Thank you. Also, in terms of revenue, because one of the reasons, in addition to the outreach that we're doing it is because it will enhance revenues. Do we have any kind of estimate, guesstimate, whatever you want to call it?
Yeah, the only number I can share is that in the 21 events that the city held when I was there, they averaged $3,500 a day in sales. I can tell you that during the season prior to the pandemic, so 2019, now again, this is 21 events and 4 times a day, so it's grandiose compared to what we do, but the city did generate enough money to provide $300,000 toward Parks and Recreation. And that was on top of what the vendor made. So there is an opportunity there. And again, you could be creative in how you write the RFPs and the agreements for what the profit sharing looks like, or et cetera. We haven't gotten that far. I'd like to get it approved first before I get to that point.
Fair enough. And the other question is, depending on the event, is there any differentiation expected between Cheltenham residents and non-Cheltenham residents? Sometimes for certain events, that's considered. So yeah. Does it depend on the park, or how are you handling that? How would you?
Yeah, I don't think that this is an event that we would limit to residents only because it would be really hard to manage. The programs and the events that we do resident, non-resident, we do pre-registration for, so it makes it a little bit easier. Checking IDs at the gate isn't going to help, right? Because there's too much overlap, and candidly speaking, we're not stopping someone driving through from using Cheshire Brewery or Bill's Best or the Ways, right? Like if they're driving through, they want to stop for a drink and a bite to eat. We're like, hey, come on in. We'll gladly take your money. So I think this is kind of the same idea.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Any of the other commissioners? Okay, Ms. Iser, Rhonda, please go ahead. I
even unmuted myself properly. I did have a couple questions, and I chaired an event back in Texas called the Live Oak Festival when we were dealing with Oakwood. And a couple questions I had for Bill was I know we had to have permission from the state to permit, and then they gave us guidance. Have we checked into that? Because I know Montgomery County is different than Philadelphia. And then my other question was, we were able to get donated or a very reduced cost on the beer from the distributor because they were getting free advertising. Is that a possibility for us also? Because we all know our money is limited in the township, just as a suggestion.
Yeah, so my understanding in the state, as long as the vendor has a mobile liquor license, then they can dispense, at these types of events, as long as they have a licensed bartender. I think that's how it happens at High School Park and other places. As far as the donated piece, I don't see that as a possibility, only because we'll be securing a vendor and they'll want to generate some revenue as well from this. I've seen the donated alcohol piece at events like Painting with a Twist, where someone will donate a couple cases of wine so that you can have wine with the paint event. But for something like this, I don't think we would get donated goods.
It was just a suggestion because anything
No.
to offset the cost. And I think that the insurance was already addressed, because I know I had to go hunt that down, and that was not fun. So I think that was already addressed. That was my other question. I think that's already been addressed.
Yeah, no problem. And Commissioner Rappaport, if I may say one more thing.
Sure.
Just to address the fun, family fun with alcohol and make it like normalcy. I push back on that a little bit, because I would say, in our short time in Parks and Rec, so going back to June, far and beyond more family-friendly events with alcohol than with alcohol. This would be a true minority versus a majority. So, and it's a true opt-in event. So if folks don't want to bring their kids somewhere with alcohol, we have plenty of other instances that they can bring them out and have a good time with other families.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I just think we needed to make sure all those points were raised and discussed and put to bed.
I appreciate
basically.
it.
Okay, thank
I
you.
appreciate it. Yep.
All right. I think there's a lot of enthusiasm for it. I'll take a motion to go ahead and recommend this proposal next week.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. And thanks again for the innovation. Item 5C, consider recommending the Board of Commissioners issue a proclamation recommitting the National Wildlife Federation's Mayor's Monarch Pledge to create habitat for the monarch butterfly and pollinators and promote the importance of monarchs as indicative of broader environmental health. And I want to thank Ms. Walter for being always on top of this, and Mr. Dominic for helping to implement it, and some of the folks at the EAC. And I'll go ahead and ask Ms. Walter if she has anything to add.
I would just say that we really built on this pledge last year with communication and our Monarch Festival. And in the course of that time, of course, we got new staff at the township. So I'm happy that Megan Hart and Bill Salvatore and his team are part of helping this succeed for this coming year. And like I mentioned earlier, the proposed updates to the vegetation ordinance will be the new piece that we are setting out to tackle this year.
And I'll just add that it also is consistent with the township's commitment to the sustainability plan that is now over 10 years old. So that's also nice. So I'll go ahead and move recommendation. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Thank you. Item D, consider recommending the Board of Commissioners appoint the following members to the township's citizen advisory committees at next week, the February 19th commissioners meeting. Elise McBride of Wyncote to be a voting member of the Historical Commission. Irene Lambro of Elkins Park to be an alternate for the Zoning Hearing Board. Gregory Shirer of Wyncote to be a voting member of the Planning Commission. Callum Wilson of Elkins Park to be a voting member of the Civil Rights Task Force, and Danielle Tague of Cheltenham to be a voting member of the Civil Rights Task Force. So, we've read their letters, their resumes, and they all look wonderful, and I will thank them all for their interest and commitment. Commissioner Norris, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. I also read the resumes and was very impressed with the caliber of candidates that have come forth. And it's really exciting that we have so many citizens who are willing to put in the time and effort to contribute and give back to the township. I've always said we have a great group of residents, smart with a lot of talent, and the more that volunteer and contribute and help our township staff and the commissioners do their job, the better off we all are. So I thank each of them.
Right. That is one of the things that makes this a great place to live and work, is our citizen body. All right, I'll move that we recommend these individuals. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. Citizens Forum. Oh, I should ask if there's any other new business for public affairs. Okay, for Citizens Forum, Ms. Melton, please.
Okay, good evening again. Only because I noticed the information about the monarch butterfly, it just made me think back to the wetlands that we have. So, I guess could anyone, give an update or talk about or maybe look into protecting the wetlands that are there on Ashburn Road? Because they're just about as important as the butterflies to our system. Something's going on because this is the first time I saw deer down as far down as John Russell Park. But only because I saw that, it made me think about that. And this is just a FYI, tomorrow the Historical Commission is going to give a presentation at Curtis Hall. Okay, but thank you. And that's it.
Thank you. And that announcement is that last, I'll take that first, the Historical Commission. There is their annual Black History lecture tomorrow night at Curtis Hall in person, 7:30. And it's about Camp William Penn. So that should be great. As for the wetlands project, I'm going to let staff handle that, but I wonder if you are talking about the development that was approved at 1990. So 19.
Well, there've been different developments on that land over the years, and we're talking decades. And every time someone purchases the land, then the issue about what they're going to do with the wetlands come up. So I realized that there is a new owner, and there's, developments going on or plans to develop. And I have no problem with, the man.
Yeah, Ms. Melton, that is the
wetlands I'm concerned about.
That is actually the Ashland development, and it is online. I think the description of it is online, and it has been approved. So
I just might have missed it being out and being ill.
Let me see if anybody from staff at this point is able to say anything about the wetlands on that site and how
I think the last thing that I remember was that there was plans and somehow building or developing around it. But again, my only concern is when I see deer this far down, it makes me wonder what's going on with the land and nature and where our creatures of the earth are at. So that's the only reason why I wondered.
All right, thank you. Did anybody from staff want to handle that or update on that project?
Commissioner, all I can say at this point is that I believe you are correct that there are preservation measures in place for the wetlands as part of their stormwater management program. But like you said, the plans are on the website. Darlene, you can reach out to our planning office if you have any questions.
Thank you very much. Anybody else for Citizens Forum for Public Affairs? Before we adjourn and move to finance. All right, I'll take a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.